Hey there, how are you?
Are we live?
We are live. We are live. It's very nice to meet you. My name's Ben Lindsay,
Hi.
managing editor here at Backstage. We haven't spoken before, so this is such a treat.
So nice to speak with you.
Yeah, and obviously we're here to talk about the stand-in this week, but how fortuitous that this is also Emmy nominations week, and you landed the nomination. Congratulations.
Thank
Um,
you.
it must be such a thrilling week for you. I mean, how do you feel about all the love that Hamilton got on Tuesday's nominations?
Oh my gosh. I was just overjoyed. It's been, over a year since the film came out. So
Right.
I think there was a part of me that was like really not expecting it. And I was totally shocked and honored and grateful. And I'm just so excited to get to celebrate my castmates and have another excuse to just get together and hug each other again, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Another excuse, and I like that framing of it, because it is wild that this show has taken you and the rest of the cast to all the places that it's taken you over the years. Did you ever have any indication in the beginning? Like, did it feel like this has the legs that it does 5 years later, or what's the experience been like?
Well, I mean, I talk about this a lot because it continues to be true, which is being in the experience. I was very young. I was just at the beginning of my career, and I thought, wow, there's a lot that I'm not going to fully understand about this experience until many years have passed. And my relationship to that experience will continue to grow. And, it's just wild. Like I was talking to somebody yesterday about how the film, was there were so many things going on during that time, and so much has changed since that moment.
Hmm.
And just how I've, learned and grown since then as an actor, as a person. But it's beautiful. It's so rare for live theater, to get to have like a thing to say, well,
Hmm.
look, I did that, because in live theater, it's like, it's done, it's past, you have the pictures, you have the memories, but this is like so phenomenal. And God, I'm so grateful.
Yeah, it really captured the moment, and it was lightning in a bottle last year when it hit Disney Plus. What's it been like to have that second life over the last year, to have so many other people relate and be able to experience the show?
It's been great. I mean, I'm just excited to see those young people, artists that had Hamilton as something that they can reference
Mm.
when they get older and say, oh yeah, like that was my jam growing up, was watching Hamilton. And to see what comes from that, the work, the stories that people create because they had something like Hamilton as a touchstone to their creativity and their drive and inspiration. I just can't wait to see what happens next.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely formative. Well, congratulations again. Super big week for you, because you, of course, also have the debut of The Stand-In on Audible, which hit the service today.
That's right.
Tell us a bit how this opportunity came about. I feel like it's such a fun opportunity for actors to kind of dive into the audiobook space, to do that kind of character work in the long form voiceover kind of process. Was it something that you were looking to check off during the pandemic? How did it kind of come to you?
Well, I mean, when you talk to people, especially artists, about like, what can I do during this pandemic from
Right.
the safety of my own home? I feel like recording an audiobook is a great answer. No, it came at a really great time. I was traveling, shooting a show in Richmond and Dopesick, which, I just finished shooting. And at the time I was traveling up and down the East Coast to get there. And I had a couple of weeks where I had free, and I was able to record this book and do it from the inside of my closet.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it was a very humbling experience because at the end of the day, like, that's kind of where it all started, like, was me as a kid, like in my room, in my bedroom, maybe in my closet, playing with my toys and giving them voices and names and being all of the characters all at
Mm-hmm.
once.
Mm-hmm.
And that sort of gradually turned into being in my closet and like going on GarageBand and just like recording little things and like trying to like make something cool. And here I was, like back in a closet, just in front of a computer and making all the voices and playing all the characters.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, such a cool opportunity to kind of get back to your roots in that way. What does the actual process look like, though? You say that it was really just a couple weeks of recording. So is there like a prep process to doing this, or do you read it a few times through and then record? Walk us through like the actual mechanics of doing an audiobook. I'm curious.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, it really all depends on the timeline, right? Like in my dream world, I really would have wanted to read the book like 7 times and like, you know, go through it. But
had the liner notes. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like get my little red pen in there and get my color coded highlighters. But you know, I read the book a couple times and had a great conversation with the director and with the writer, and just wanted to, you know, really just make sure that the storytelling first and foremost was very clear. So that just comes with a bunch of technical stuff. Like you know, I speak Chinese throughout the book because there is Chinese language spoken. So I wanted to make sure I was pronunciating that correctly, and also, you know, getting names right. There are certain accents that people have. I wanted to make sure that we were clarifying who has what accent. And then just in terms of, you know, the tone and the quality of each character's voice, you know, sometimes these characters, there's 5 people in a room, right? And they're all like having dialogue, and you want to make sure that each of those characters has a different sound so that you can be clear with your storytelling, because it is only me. And the beauty of recording is that, you know, I don't have to do it perfectly the first time. We really got to play, you know, and explore and try and clarify as much as possible, all with, you know, the guidance of the director and the engineer, and just, and you know, the most fun part is that satisfying bit where you're like, ah, yes, like I'm really telling this story and it's really flying, and there's a flow in all of the sort of technical stuff that we've done, the homework that we've done. We can just sort of like let it fly.
What an exciting challenge to kind of take on all these different characters and be in dialogue with one another.
Oh yeah, at that point, like I hadn't been speaking or singing for longer than, you know, a couple minutes at a time for at least a year. So so yeah, that was just the challenge in terms of stamina. I had to take, like at the beginning, I had to sort of be like, okay, I think I need to work in my breaks differently, because I can't go for, you know, longer than an hour and a half without feeling a little bit fatigued. So it really was a sort of negotiation of my own skill set. And then at the end of the day, feeling like, well, I've been set up to succeed. I've got a great team behind me on this. So, you know, like, let's just play and have fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you, of course, are a veteran of kind of communicating a message through your voice. I've been such a fan of yours since Natasha, since Hamilton, since Amelie. Do you find that you're kind of flexing similar muscles of the voice doing voiceover work as you do when you're singing? Is it similar? Are you pulling on similar threads of your like technical training when it comes to that?
Definitely. I mean, I think there's, you know, the only thing that's really missing is your scene partner in that case. But I am the scene partner, and I get to keep the rhythm and establish that flow. So it can be really satisfying in that way, even though I'm just like, you know, surrounded by my like winter coats and a bunch of shoes and like whatever stuff I've just thrown into my closet. I really can let my imagination fly in that moment, and it's very satisfying.
Well, to take us back just to the beginning of that training, you of course went to the Juilliard School, graduated 2012. Is that right?
Yeah.
So what do you, kind of in the professional year since working in the industry, what have you taken from that really grounded technical training, and how do you apply it to each new project? Do you feel like it was very formative to still doing what you're doing today?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I had such a fulfilling and eye-opening time during school, and I think one of the biggest things that I took away from that experience was this idea of my own relationship to failure, and what failure actually looks like and means, because just in terms of the craft, when you're working on a scene and for whatever reason, like you're like, that didn't feel right, or like, oh, we didn't quite get there, the emotion wasn't there, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was a part of me that felt like, oh, I failed, like, oh man, I really wanted to get it. And I think that when you're rehearsing, when you're trying to find those moments, those moments where maybe you're failing, or maybe where something isn't working, is actually just it's a learning moment. It's a time where you say to yourself, oh, that didn't work, and now I know that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
changing your relationship to not getting something quite right, or feeling like it wasn't there, and being excited about that, excited about being in that place, about being in that sort of energy that might feel messy or not perfect. And that's actually where the best, most vulnerable, deep work happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, and just in terms of like career and failure in that sense, you know, it's a long road. And I think that my experience in school really taught me that, you know, this is not one road to take. There's many different roads to take. It's different for every single person. The path, you know, you can carve it out as much as you want to, but you also have to be open to surprise. And I think that, you know, that was a really important thing that I learned when I was there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, as a final question for you then, I feel like that ties nicely into this. I like capping these interviews just asking for the piece of advice that you would give your younger self. So obviously you've been in the performing arts for quite some time. You've gotten that really rich training out of Juilliard. You've gotten the Broadway experience. You've gotten the Hollywood experience. What's something that would have been helpful to you to know in the beginning that you've kind of learned along the way?
Well, I love that question. I feel like if I were to have the opportunity to ask my younger, or have my younger self there and tell my younger self something, I would just ask her what she feels and what she thinks. I would ask, I would sort of turn to her, and I'd be like, well, what advice do you have for me?
Yeah.
Because I think that there's something that we're all trying to search for that goes back to that desire and love and passion that you have for storytelling and for the work. And, you know, oftentimes that's the part that's the hardest to access, because we're trying to be adults. We're trying to like figure out how to make everything work in our lives. But ultimately there's this beautiful spark that lives within us as kids, whether it's just playing in the yard or being in your closet and imagining being all the characters. Like that's
Exactly,
that's where it all starts. So if I were to if I were to tell my younger self anything, I would literally ask her, like, what can you tell me, please?
Yeah, yeah. I love that. I love that. Well, that's a great note to leave this conversation on. It's been really awesome to get to know you a little bit.
You too.
Congratulations again on the release day of The Stand-In, and of course, your Emmy nomination for Hamilton. We'll have to stay in touch for the next best thing. I'm excited to see what you do next.
I know. And maybe we'll run into each other at an intermission. I would love that.
Oh, can you imagine? Yeah, that would be great.
Can't wait.
All right. Well, stay well, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay.